Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of this Atlanta United Career Mode series. We're going to kick it off with some not transfer negotiations, but contract negotiations, some renegotiating with players that we already have that are either on really short contracts that are about to end, or just trying to get them out of their release clauses. I'm just going to kind of speak over this while you guys watch it in the background. I didn't know if you guys wanted to see what players I wanted to extend and which ones I didn't, but it does turn out that kind of like the release clauses, at least for the MLS, I don't know about the rest of the game, but it almost looks like the release clauses are kind of automated and they're not always the same. Some of the players do end up keeping theirs. I believe Miguel Almiron's was the same as it was in that video that I already uploaded about a week ago. But other than that, a lot of them were kind of all over the place. So I figured I'd go ahead and upload this so you guys can see what contracts I'm going to give and which ones I'm not. Some of the players you may be surprised by, like Chris McCann. I'm not sure how everybody feels about him, but I think he is like a vital piece to the team right now in terms of like a backup option for either the midfielders or for defense. So we're going to renegotiate a contract there. But while this is playing on, I figured I'd give it a couple minutes to talk about that game last night, because I figure somebody, you guys always ask if I'm going to games or whatnot, and that was one to forget. I knew going into it we were going to play a weaker squad, obviously missing a lot of players. I believe Doug may have said this, but it was we had to choose 18 players from 20 available players that we had because of injuries and international break duties, which brings me to the MLS not having a break during that time is always frustrating. I know they have like a kind of a deadline for them they want to always hit in terms of ending the season, but surely pushing games to the weekend should not bother it that much, or just skipping an entire week altogether, especially the way that they already make our schedules crazy enough as is. So it is really weird that we do have to play during the international break again while the rest of the world doesn't, unless obviously it's leagues that just don't have international players. I believe that's why the MLS has it as it is right now, because before there weren't many players in the MLS that actually got to play for their international teams, but the league is getting better, teams are getting better, players are getting better. So it's definitely something that they need to look at changing in the future. Especially the referees are another part that need to be changed in the future. I knew going into it, it was going to be difficult for me to follow the MLS because I had always kind of followed it a little bit in the past, but only in like news articles. I really didn't watch many games. I focused more on the European scene because it was a little bit more mature. But I always read articles about certain referees, Geiger and the likes, that people always didn't like, and then obviously some of them made it to the World Cup, and then there were problems there. So I knew going into it I was going to be frustrated with the referees, but I did not expect what came from last night, and that was pure shambles from the referee's point of view. I don't know if he was flustered by the crowd. I believe that goes into it a little bit because we are a bigger crowd, and I don't know if he was flustered by the hatred I guess the crowd had for the referee. Maybe that was in it too, but the calls were just bad. The use of VAR didn't entirely make sense for me. I understood why they used it for the penalty, but I didn't understand why they didn't use it for the Tito situation, considering it was red card able to be like reviewed for that, in my opinion. Maybe not in his eyes, which is why he kind of skipped it, but it was definitely something that didn't make sense to me. Why throwing an elbow at our player isn't the same as Yamil throwing a softer elbow at somebody earlier on in the season isn't the same thing, but it is what it is. We played a weaker team against a weaker squad. Minnesota was a little weakened that game as well, but it was definitely interesting to see some of the backup players play. I think Kenwyne Jones is really close to punching his ticket out of the starting 11 from now on. The team just does not play the same with him in it. I don't think anyone knows how to play with Kenwyne Jones, and I don't really know if Kenwyne Jones knows how to play with anybody else at this point. So it was really disappointing. Kenwyne was a player I was really excited about, but it is what it is. We're just going to have to move on from it, really. other than that, that's really all my ideas on the game. I don't want to talk about it too much. It is just one game. We already made the playoffs. It's just disappointing we don't get the opportunity to continue there. So now that all the contract stuff is over, just wanted to show you guys, the lineup changes that I'm making going into the game. Just kind of trying to bring in some of the younger players into the 18. I want to bring in Carlton and Miles a little bit more often, so definitely be ready to see them in the starting 11 and the substitute bench as well. So other than that, we're going to kind of start kicking off into these games. You're going to see a game against Columbus Crew, and then also see a game against DC United. Two teams that I felt like we should definitely beat pretty handily. But, the MLS is crazy, so things happen, especially to Atlanta United. It seems like we keep losing to bad teams. I think those are kind of like the only losses we've had. Excluding some of the better teams, obviously, like New York Red Bulls and teams like that. So we're just going to go ahead and jump into the commentary there. I kind of just wanted to do this preface commentary because this is a sped up version and my editing software is a little backwards. So I'll catch you guys once the game starts. So jumping into this game, this first game is not going to have any game audio, sadly. I do leave my headset into my PS4 at the time because I was playing a different game before FIFA and forgot to take it out. So you guys will see in the second game I end up taking out the headset and sound is restored. I'm going to throw some crowd noise in the background though, some crowd chants from the stadium just to kind of give it a little bit of life. But here, nothing happens in that first half, nothing notable. I was struggling to get back together with this team. I have been playing Ultimate Team a good bit, so I've been playing in a different formation. I've been playing a 3-4-1-2, or a 3-4-2-1, sorry, pretty heavily, and that kind of is messing with me a little bit, trying to turn back into this team. But I do think I am going to start playing 3 in the back with this team at some point, maybe after the transfer window, once I'm able to bring in another center back to kind of take over that Michael Parkhurst role. But for the time being, maybe I do bring in Miles Robinson. If that's something you guys are interested in, definitely let me know because I'm definitely interested in doing that. But here in the 49th minute, right after kickoff, we managed to pass the ball around nicely, and Miguel Almiron is able to grab his 19th goal of the season, I believe, at this point. So continuing to score, continuing to get us into good positions in games. Miguel Almiron always seems to come up big for us, but it's just a nice finish. Keeper was depending on going the other direction, and sorry, that is his 18th goal at this point, not his 19th, but Miguel Almiron is able to give us the lead. But here, I don't know what's going on with me. Today, you just have those days where it's just like a bad FIFA day. The computer looked like it was having it at first, and I looked like I was going to be on the break, but Joseph Martinez was not running as fast as I was expecting him to and on the breakaway, so we ended up having to pull the ball back here and get a little bit more creative. Tried to get that ball to Yamil Assad, but it didn't work out very well. And then just from that, they're able to go straight up the other end, and I ended up pulling LGP right here to a really bad spot on the field, and it just kind of left Michael Parkhurst in no man's land. Anton overcommitted to a tackle there, LGP overcommitted one more time, and they were able to grab another goal. So honestly, if you guys are struggling with FIFA, record yourself if you can somehow, some way, with the PlayStation share button or whatever it is, and just re-watch how you can see goals, because watching this one back and the one before that, you start to see what you do wrong and then you learn from it. It is definitely helpful. I think it helps a lot of YouTubers learn kind of from their mistakes. But here we're able to get a nice little pass into Miguel Almiron. At this point, Andrew Carlton is on the pitch. I wanted to bring him in for Yamil at this point in the game because nothing was really working for me too much, so I kind of wanted to switch things around. But Miguel Almiron is able to grab his 19th goal of the season and take us to 2-2. So that puts him 2 goals ahead of Joseph Martinez at this point, which, their battle is just brewing constantly. I am really happy to get them both on new contracts and a release clause off of Miguel Almiron, and good enough of a release clause on Joseph Martinez that I'm not worried about it in the near future. So if a team really wants to pay $54 million for a 79 rated striker, they're more than welcome to. but it's definitely not worth it in my eyes, so I don't think anybody's going to end up paying that money right now. So um, we ended up dropping 2 points here to Columbus at home, which was super disappointing, but Miguel Almiron able to grab his 2 goals of the game. Just a little disappointing to not grab 3 points here, especially the form that we're on. Currently in first place with a game in hand against Toronto. 4 points up, but now we are only 3 points up, obviously, and we're going to jump into this game against DC United. I didn't look at the table, not realizing that they were in third place at this, or fourth place, sorry, at this point in the season. So obviously they're playing a lot better than they do in real life. So I was going to play a little bit of a weaker squad, not too crazy. The starting like top 5 I'm interested in keeping in, but it's more so the defense that I keep conceding with. I keep pulling players in wrong positions. Notably, it's honestly more my fault in the way that I play with LGP than it is Michael Parkhurst, but I decided to bring in a pacier center back to kind of make up for my mistakes sometimes with LGP, and I bring in Miles Robinson for his first start of the season. I definitely thought that he was a good replacement, but I also decided to give Anton rest because we do have a game only a couple days after this one, so I decided to give Anton rest and bring in Tyrone Mears as well. Nothing too crazy. Thought about making some different changes, but decided, you know, DC United could end up pulling something out. They have beat us 3 times this season, so maybe I should give them a little bit more focus. So going into this game on the road, hoping to grab a decent amount of points in this game. Again, as you see here, you do see I end up pulling my headset out, and you can get a little bit of game sound now. I'm going to leave a few chants left here in the end of the game. If you guys do actually like me adding in the chants, let me know in the comment section below. I kind of left them off in the last few videos, but they do make a return here. So if that's something you guys are interested in, definitely let me know. If not, you know, I'll leave them out. It's no big deal. It was just kind of something I was a little interested in doing, and it kind of gives me a little bit more of a full game vibe. But here we are actually able to score off of a corner, which I will not say very often in this series, but it just managed to be a nice little short corner to the near post, and we're able to cross it over to Miles Robinson at the back post, and he knocks it in. So definitely a good call to maybe play Miles Robinson in terms of attacking, which does make me wonder maybe I should play him at right back once we do end up losing Anton Walks, because he does have 79 pace. That is faster than both of my current right backs, especially if Anton ends up leaving. So maybe Miles Robinson is a good fit there, but again, I may end up going to 3 in the back and then playing Zach Lloyd or Miles Robinson in the team. But here I do end up conceding off the kickoff. This one wasn't so much one that I could stop. There's definitely some midfield battles that I ended up losing. I pulled Tyrone Mears maybe a little bit too inward, so I ended up not being able to catch up to the crosser. But other than that, it kind of just felt like in this game, when you cross the ball across the ground in front of the defenders, it feels like they don't even make an attempt on the ball anymore. And I'm not sure what it is in the coding of the game for that to happen, but it was a little bit of frustrating. Here in the 66th minute, we actually managed to get a nice little dink over to Joseph Martinez from Miguel Almiron, who's able to grab himself a goal. So closing the gap a little bit on Miggy, definitely trying to stay in that golden boot race, regardless of what Joseph Martinez says in real life. The golden boot is a little bit important in this series. I think we are very good and looking very good for the postseason. So we're kind of trying to focus a little bit on some of the less important things in life, like the golden boot. But that does give us our 2-1 lead in this game. Here in the 74th minute, I overcommit way too hard with a few defenders, in all honesty, and again, it kind of feels like defending is just a little off in this game, even though I was standing right in front of the defender, just kind of trying to not give him too much space, but see if he would make a mistake while I was trying to just kind of hold him off, and he ended up taking a long shot and scoring. So a little bit of a fault on my part, but also a little bit of me still trying to get used to understanding defending in this game. So here in the 90th minute, we get one more opportunity to work ourselves across the field. DC was playing very defensive at this point in the game. They were playing for the draw, so it was making it very difficult to try to find a gap for us to shoot in, and it ended up being just a bad pass, and the game is going to end there. So sadly, we do end up dropping 2 points to both DC United and Columbus Crew in this episode. We are still in front of Toronto at this point, and I believe still have a game in hand going into the game this weekend. I will have another episode of this up probably tomorrow. I wasn't really feeling FIFA today, as you guys could probably tell in this episode. It just didn't feel right. Some days you just play FIFA and it doesn't feel right. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow. I may play a little bit later tonight as well to kind of try to get back into the groove of things. But that is going to be the end of this episode. The transfer window will open next episode, so definitely get your suggestions in one more time in the comment section below. But if you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next one, I will see you guys later.